All right, we are recording. All right, so yeah, so for today's webinar, like I said, I'm just going to kind of go through the objectives again, is to discuss goal setting and why we use it in training, why we use it in fitness, why we use it in nutrition and wellness, and how you can apply those ideas of goal setting into other areas of life, professional, personal, anything. You can really, goal setting is really impactful, and we'll talk about why it's important. And we'll talk about good habits. We'll talk about mindset, because they all play a role into not only establishing goals, but also adherence to goals. And there's a couple of different frameworks out there for goal setting. Sometimes you hear them in like different business books and things like that, but they can apply to fitness too. And it's what we use when we meet with, as a personal trainer, when we're meeting with clients, or when we're meeting with, if a student in a group fitness class comes up to us with a question and they want to be able to know how to improve upon something or how to stick to their routine, we use the same principles with these different frameworks. And then going through the importance of why the small wins all matter. Because when you add up all the small wins together, it gets you to your larger goal. So really important to embrace the small wins. And then I've got a few books that I have found quite helpful, and a few mentors of mine that have recommended these resources to me. And I can put those in the chat box too if you're looking for a good read or a good audiobook. I know when I go on a socially distant walk, audiobooks have become my new thing that I'm like really into. So, and these books are definitely great for audiobooks, or if you want to read the actual book itself. So I'll share some of those as well. So the reason goal setting, why we do it, is it helps us more or less to have a path of where we want to go. So we have a goal in mind, and once we have the goal in mind, we think about the steps to get there. We think about it over the course of daily, what we have to do every day, what we can do over the course of the week, over the course of a month, over the course of 6 months, and over the course of over a year, and then even longer into 5 years, depending upon the goal. And so by taking a look at the steps that you want to get to your goal, it's really helpful when you break it down to even those granular levels of the daily actions, because like I said, those daily actions all will add up and exponentially over the long run. So that's the importance of not only embracing the small wins when we get them, but also taking those daily steps every single day. And one of my mentors has shown me the idea of using the one thing. And it's actually a book as well called The One Thing. And you take a look at what the one thing is that you want to get done today, this week, this month, over 6 months, etc., 1 year, 5 years. And that's what helps you get towards your goal. So in the context of adhering to a fitness routine, one of those daily things could be to put it in your calendar. That's something I do when it comes to planning my own training, and in the context of budgeting is not the word, but kind of balancing, that's the word, between the classes that I teach or the clients that I have, as well as my full-time job. It's something I do. I put it on the calendar and I make that appointment for myself. And so I know we're in kind of the age where we're in meetings a lot more because of where we're working at home, or we are collaborating over the phone, over virtual platforms like Zoom or FaceTime or Teams or whichever one you're using. But it's the idea that the appointment goes on the calendar, and that's what that meeting is for. And then same principle applies for when you want to do your class or your training session or your walk or your meditation. You can put it on the calendar and make that appointment for yourself. And that's something I've found really helpful because it kind of reminds me, I get like a 30-minute alert or email notification that says, okay, 30 minutes, time for your workout, 30 minutes, time for your walk, or whatever it happens to be. And so I find that to be helpful, okay, and I start to get that mental readiness of like, okay, 30 minutes, this is what I'm going to be doing. And so I find that to be really helpful. And it's especially in when we can work, when there's a little bit more flexibility as to when you want to work out, whether it's the morning, if it's lunchtime, or if it's after work or after your studies or whatever, and because your gym becomes your house, you can kind of do it whenever you want, essentially. And so it just gives you that personal kind of accountability of, okay, I've got this goal for myself today. I'm going to do today for me. I did my early morning walk and I had it on the calendar. And so that was my appointment for myself. And then I always find those little reminders really helpful. And that's my one thing for the day. And then my one thing for the week, when I look at like strength training, so that's one of my favorite things to do for my own workouts. I will plan out over the course of the week when I'm going to do those sessions. And so again, same idea. I put it on the calendar for the specific day, but I take a look at the week and things like that. And then I kind of, when I translate it into like the month, similar principle, but just kind of looking at how my training will evolve. And that's if you have a personal trainer, those are the things that we as trainers think about when we are planning out sessions for clients. We think about short, medium, and long-term goals. But we also think that those short-term steps feed into the long-term goal. So it all feeds into each other. And so those are the important things to think about when you're doing some goal setting when it comes to fitness. Nutrition is kind of the same idea. If you're thinking about, okay, I want to ensure that I have enough protein, that I feel good and energized, you'll monitor that throughout each meal. And you can kind of set a goal for yourself, or, one thing to do that day. Say you want to prep your meals on a Sunday, and then for the rest of the week, so you kind of hit that one day goal, but then you also hit that weekly goal of, I know that I'm going to have protein with each of my meals because I've got it already set up. So that's another way to think about how to use the one thing framework. And then it can translate into other aspects of life, whether you want to have a certain job or you have a certain, personal goal. It's all those little small steps that build up in the long term. And so using the context that you gave about wanting to stick to your routine, biggest thing I will recommend for people is trying that calendar reminder, making that meeting with yourself, and then also thinking about, in your overall goal, but then also enjoying it and having fun as well. So it can kind of seem very regimented what I do with kind of having that methodical look at, day, week, month, things like that. But I'm also planning my sessions and my training for myself as to think about, these are the things that I enjoy doing. I have fun with it. And so that's the other thing too. So finding a format or style of exercise that you enjoy. Also, it makes it a lot easier, and doesn't seem like it's a formal meeting when you're going to your training or things like that. It doesn't feel like a to-do. It doesn't feel like I have to do this. It's an I get to do this. And that's the other side of the coin, I think, when you think about mindset and goal setting. Having that positive mindset, having that, support system as well around you, be it family, friends, a coach, that all adds up as well. So having that positive mindset and positive support group also facilitates adherence to your goals. And then one thing we also think about is, in addition to kind of that one thing model, the day, week, month, we also look at goal setting in terms of the SMART framework. It's something that you'll see a lot in business and like professional development on your like performance review. That's the word. When you have it on those forms, you kind of look at the different goals, and the SMART acronym is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. And so making your goal specific, how will you measure it? That it's attainable and realistic and time bound. It gives you that kind of, like we like due dates. We like to have that, that sense that we will accomplish this in this time. And so that's another thing. And it kind of syncs up with the one thing framework that we were discussing earlier too. So SMART is something that you'll see readily in, like I said, business, professional development. It's a very common framework that's used, and it's also used in fitness and wellness. And we kind of break things down. So if we look at what, if you have a goal of wanting to achieve a certain time for your run by, say you wanted to run like a lot of, 5Ks and marathons right now become virtual. So you say you want to be able to get to that 5K in a certain amount of time. So that's what we would set. And then as a trainer or your coach, they would help establish a program that would get you towards that is specific to the goal. So wanting to run the 5K, for example, by this date. And we'll measure it by looking at the time of your 5K or your run, so your mile time. So that's how we'll have like a metric to use. And then something that's attainable and realistic. So that's a safely achievable goal too. And so that's kind of how we unpack it for a specific goal like that when it's performance-based. When it's more general health, general wellness, and adherence to a routine, we kind of dig a little deeper and see what the specific goal might be. Again, that specificity really helps with goals, and because it gives you that kind of precise action that you can take. And so that's one thing that we discuss in that initial consultation setting with a client is to look at that specific goal a little bit more. But some things we might do is take a look at like a group fitness schedule, and we'll pinpoint some good classes during the week that add variety and that are also fun to you as well, because we want to make exercise fun. Like I said, it's the mindset. It's not that I have to do this, it's that you want to and you get to. So I'll pause here. I know I just did a lot of talking. So I'll pause here for a second, and if you have any questions, want me to revisit anything that I've just said, or any feedback you have about those two different frameworks. Any questions? All good? All right, so I was looking at my notes here. Yes, SMART goals is very popular. And like I said, we use it a lot in fitness, and it can connect to that one thing framework. So when you, is what one of my mentors is had me do, is I'll write down like a one thing goal, and then I kind of really break it down into those different levels based on time. And so they kind of are linked together a little bit. But yeah, the SMART goals is, it's a very helpful framework when trying to set a goal. And so like I say, with having goals and with having these kind of frameworks, gives us a template to remain accountable, remain focused, and to remain, it gives us those tangible next steps that we can take. But kind of on the flip side, we are human, and so it's okay to adapt to goals. It's okay to, have those slight shifts a little bit if it helps achieve, it's helping to achieve the goal in the long run. So it's, being able to adapt the plan over time as well. And so that's something, kind of how I found strength training and why I love it so much was I did it as a way to cross train when I was training for a half marathon. So I kind of inadvertently found strength training through running. And so that way I realized that's how my goals were shifting when it came to fitness. So it could be that you discover you like a new style of training. It could be a number of things, but that adaptability also facilitates resiliency when it comes to goals as well. Because we are human beings. We, you know, how we like to train changes. You know, there's all those things can evolve. And so goals can evolve as well. So there kind of isn't always this one, you know, straight and narrow road. There's always some curves in the road as well. And so the reason, you know, curves and, you know, that we embrace that adaptability of goals is that all those little steps that we take along the way, all those daily wins, all those small wins, they matter. Because like I said, they're going to add up exponentially in the long term. So it's embracing the small wins. And if there's a day where that small win doesn't happen, it's okay. And that's one thing too, when it comes to that motivation and adherence to your goals, is understanding that it's okay if that small win didn't happen today. We try again. You know, and it's not a failure, it's not a setback. And again, it links up to mindset. All these topics are connecting together. Very meta ideas, but they all link up together. And so again, having that mindset of, I'm going to embrace my small wins. But if I don't hit that small win today, it's not going to hold me back. And so that's the importance of mindset. There's, again, I'll mention it in my list of books. There's a lot of really good books out there, but I'll kind of give like my top 5 that I found to be very impactful when it comes to goal setting, and when it comes to thinking about good habits as well, you know, or optimal habits as well. So like if you're looking to do your routine for your workouts and you want to become, say, an early morning workout person, I like to go on an early morning walk. That's my thing. So what I do is I make sure night before, clothes are out for the next day. They're ready to go. Another tip that I've learned as well is to have your session planned before you do it. And this is especially when I would go in to the gym early and go for a lift. I found this very helpful, because then I knew, okay, I'm going to use this machine, I'm going to hit the squat rack, I know the order, I know when I'm going to do it. And it made it that much more of like, all right, I have this mini roadmap and I know what I'm going to do. And so that I found to be very helpful. Or, you know, in the case if you like to do group fitness classes, you have your class picked and ready to go. And there's a lot of virtual apps out there too. So right now, especially like one that I like to use is called Les Mills On Demand. And it's really awesome because there's so many different workouts on there. But sometimes it's like when if you go on Netflix and you look through the list of things that's on Netflix, it's this infinite abyss of programs on Netflix, and you kind of get decision fatigue. You're like, what am I going to do? What I like to do to avoid that decision fatigue when it comes to workouts is I'll plan it out, you know, the night before, thinking, okay, I'm going to do this workout. That's my goal. And then I also understand on the flip side of things, you know, if I need to take a rest day, if my body's not feeling it, I can adapt and modify the course to stay on the road. So that's another thing that I think about when it comes to kind of habit forming, and then also being able to kind of adapt to those changes within a goal. So that's one thing. If you use like a virtual app, you know, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, I'm going to do this workout and I'm going to plan out, you know, when I'm going to do it, put it on my calendar. If I want to do it in the morning, I'll have my clothes out ready to go. And that's kind of how how you can take those small steps, all those little small habits, build up to the win. And so that's another thing I found, especially in the virtual era where we have all these different choices, and it can feel really exhausting when you're like, oh, I have this choice, I have this choice, and this one, and I don't know what to do. And it's kind of like when you go to Netflix and then you end up watching the same thing that you watched yesterday. So that's kind of where I find having that planned out up front has also been really helpful. Any questions about that? Yeah, there's a number of virtual apps right now, or virtual platforms, I'll say that. I just happen to use Les Mills On Demand a lot because I'm certified in a few formats from them, and they're always adding new content to the platform. And there's so many different formats you can do, from cardio to strength to cycling to mind and body. There's bar, there's HIIT training, there's all these different things. And so even right there, you're kind of like, oh, what do I want to do? And so there's so many choices. So that's another thing to help with if you're going to kind of pick your workout for the day and things like that, is you can pick it in advance. And then a couple of resources that I wanted to share, and I can type these in the chat too. So talking about the one thing framework, there is actually a book called One Thing, and it's unpacked quite extensively about how you can establish goals through the one thing model. Another great place to start with also thinking about goals and thinking about motivation is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Really great book. Really great audiobook too, if you get the audiobook. Atomic Habits is another one. That's not by Simon Sinek, but another great book is the Atomic Habits book. The Power of Habit is another good one. And then Mindset by Carol Dweck, another really good book. Talks about growth mindset, and that's one thing that's really key with setting goals is growth mindset, is that adaptability, willingness to learn and grow. It all syncs up into how you can set goals and foster optimal habits is through a growth mindset. So growth mindset is you're willing to learn, embrace change, and that's what keeps the possibilities open when it comes to goal setting. So those are a few resources there. So I will type those into the chat. Have you heard of any of those? There's one thing. Start with why. I recommend anything by Simon Sinek. His books are very good. Atomic Habits is one. Mindset. I think I spelled Carol's last name right for the author of Mindset. Start with one, and then Power of Habit. That's the other one. The author's first name is Charles, and I forget his last name off the top of my head. But those are just a really good set of books, or even if you wanted to listen to the audio book or get the kind of key highlights of all those different books. But they're all really, really good, really powerful, and they're used in sometimes in a business context too. But when it comes to goal setting, even outside of business and things like that, they're really good reads, and they really are good at. They're really quick reads too, so they move quick. Another great book that just came to mind, and I'll put this in the chat for you too. It's called The 5-Second Rule, and basically, and this is impactful for when you're trying to stick to your routine, and if your body says like, all right, let's do it, but mindset isn't there, or it feels like, oh, I'll do it in 5 minutes. I'll do it in 5 minutes. And in the 5-second rule, you count down from 5, and then you go. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. and you start your workout. Or you're going to start whatever you have to do. And so the 5-second rule, I think Mel Robbins, I think her name, who wrote the book. But again, it's a book that can be applied, or a framework that gets applied in lots of different settings. But in fitness in particular, you can kind of think of, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, go. And that's the whole premise of the book, is take those 5 seconds and it prepares the brain, it prepares your body and mindset, and then you're ready to go. So if you'd like to try, like for, you know, when I started to do early morning workouts more and go, you know, like 6 in the morning, that was a big thing, was kind of like, I didn't want to like hit the snooze again. It was, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, go. And that's the idea of the 5-second rule. So that's another really good book that I recommend. Again, it's a quick read, but another really impactful book too. So any questions, thoughts, or were these tips helpful for you in thinking about goal setting? Yeah, and trying that, you know, like that, I would say one of the things, and if you want, I can leave my Insta handle too, and you can message me with any other questions or kind of strategies for thinking about that, is, you know, starting with like that calendar appointment. So what's like a, you know, a format that you really like and enjoy, or even if it's a walk, like it's a great, like I always think walks are a great start, because they're a daily habit to form that is super beneficial. I did a discussion about self-care. When did I do it? End of June, July? I think it was end of June when I did it. But anyway, regardless of when I did it, it's on the YouTube channel. But I talked a lot about daily walks and why daily walks are so important. And especially when, you know, we're in more stressful times. But daily walks are such a good reset. And so obviously, like making sure it's socially distant, wearing a mask, all those good things. But daily walks, even 30 minutes, are so important, not only just to get your steps in, but it helps kind of reset the body. It's shown to lower stress, so the amount of cortisol that's in the body. And so especially now that we're in more stressful times and things like that, it's really important to kind of just take that beat, reset with a walk, fresh air, also having positive effects overall on mood, physiological benefits of getting outside, you know, even if it's those 30 minutes, even if it's like a lap around the block or something, that's a great daily habit to start, is a walk. Or you know, like a friend of mine has a treadmill in her house, so that's like another way you can get a daily walk in if you have access to that. But even just a few minutes outside is a great place to start, and it really feels like an energy booster, I will say. And then you feel like ready to go for the day if you do it in the morning, or you can feel refreshed at the end of the day, depending on when you want to do it. So that's a good one to get started with, is a daily walk. And then again, those kind of incremental steps, they'll all add up. And so then maybe you'll find, okay, I'm going to do, you know, say my daily walk, 30 minutes. And then maybe I'll do like 30 minutes of yoga after, or maybe a 30-minute of core, or even 15 minutes. And you start small and incremental. And then you feel like, okay, I've got a good plan for the week, and it's balanced, and it's, you know, it's got a variety of things, but also things I enjoy. I've got rest days planned in there too. And that's where it all kind of starts, with getting that like one habit and just keep building on it. And so I would say, you know, a daily activity like that, like walking, or Meditation can help too for like a daily habit. I know some people that do that as well. They'll start their day just with like sitting for 5 to 10 minutes and just practicing their breathing, or you know, very how do I want to describe it? You know, just a very simple practice of meditation, just to focus on breath, reset, and then they'll begin their day, or that's how they'll close their day. And so kind of starting with that smaller habit. So maybe trying like a walk, if you're able to do that, you know, or you got the space to either be outside and be socially distant and things like that, that's a good one to start with. And then see how that goes. And yeah, feel free to message me too. I'll leave my Instagram handle in the chat box for you, and you can see how that goes. And then you can think about maybe like a class on the schedule here that we've got, and that's another one to kind of you can make that meeting for yourself, and that's the next step. And so just kind of building those small little building blocks and embracing all of those small steps, because they all exponentially will add up. Yeah, we've got the classes through this phase of the schedule. We'll go through the 30th, yes. And then when the semester picks back up, we'll have another virtual roundup. So the classes will continue, because I know they're just getting ready to shift from the summer session to the fall session. So stay tuned for that. The schedule is coming soon. But yeah, and if you have questions about the schedule too, let me type in my Instagram here. And if you have any other questions, you can feel free to send me a message. And that is another, you know, about the classes, what the formats are, things like that. And happy to kind of talk through that. Or if you have any other questions, we also offer personal training. And that's another way to kind of get that custom plan for what works for you, for fitness, for your, like for goal setting, things like that. And that's where we can kind of take that, you know, a personal trainer that can take that conversation a little bit even further to kind of think about short, medium, and long-term goals. Yeah, so if you have any other questions, yeah, thumbs up, awesome. If you have any other questions or you know, feedback, if you enjoyed this webinar topic, if it and if there's any other questions that you have today, or like I said, you can send me a message, and then yeah, let me know how it goes with setting up that routine. And then yeah, stay tuned for other webinars and other workouts that we've got over the course of the next few weeks with the summer schedule, and then we'll be shifting gradually into the fall schedule, and we'll have some webinar programming there too. And then this recording will be on the Campus Rec YouTube channel as a replay if you want to revisit it. And yeah, thanks so much for coming, spending part of your Tuesday. Have a great rest of your day, and take care. Thanks so much.